I'ma blast off when the yak's off. Run up in the store with my motherfucking mask off. Better back up. Got a bad cough. Homie got the ooze. And he chillin' by the back door. Got a trap door in the back door. Top notch. Stay fed, real talk. So noise, misfits, for life, real shit. Deep, yeah, non-stop.
Two, live on the set, it's you know who. Eat to the yeah for the dope shop crew. Blaze up the gas and we toss up the booze. Acting a fool was send at the Waffle House. The venue.
It didn't want the intro to work, I guess.
I wasn't sure if it was you or me, but it was just too much fire. They knew they couldn't hold us back any longer.
Right. How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate this.
For sure. How's it going, chat? What's up, TZ?
What's going on, friends? It's been a minute.
Yeah.
What up, everybody? I'm just excited to be here, man. I'm excited to chat about the new book and catch up. I know, spoiler behind the scenes, I know we were talking earlier in my capacity as publisher, but now I get to do what I like the most and talk about my new books and writing and stuff like that. So thanks for having me on, man. It's good to holler at you and chop it up with everybody for a bit.
For sure. It's good to have you back on. For sure.
Thank you, man.
So want to dig right into the book?
Yeah, man. So my newest book, now on Kickstarter, Tales of Mystery, Volume 6, Blood for Blood. This is the 6th volume of what's now my longest running series. This is crazy. It's Tales of Mystery. No offense to anything else I write. I know everyone's got different favorites of mine. For my money, Tales of Mystery is my favorite series I write. It's a horror noir book. The setup on the series overall is hell invades Earth for 3 days, monsters, demons, stuff like that. Look at that cover. Look at that cover.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's legit. But after 3 days, it just stops, right? And everything's okay. That was pretty terrible, but it was 3 days. You know, we made it through. We can move on. But Mystery's a magician who knows there's still monsters and demons left. And that 3-day invasion is just the first wave of what's actually coming next. That's the setup for the book. And with Volume 6, which is now on Kickstarter, people can go to talesofmystery.com and check it out and jump in and back it. Get the book. This is going to put us at over 900 pages of content.
Wow.
Right? It's wild. And really excited, you know, Austin McKinley, who was actually the colorist on the first volume of Tales of Mystery back in the day. He's illustrating this volume like he did the last volume. He illustrated Rockstar Paranoia. Now he's illustrating this volume as well. So he's done 5 and 6. Mike Crome did the cover, that gorgeous cover. Mike Chrome's done a lot of the Lady Death covers and things like that. He's been on my life list for a while to bring him in to get to do work with him. And he understood the assignment, right? You know, you don't have a character like the Vampire Queen and not put her on the cover. And when I told Mike as the general gist of what I wanted to do, he just threw the ball up in the air and just crushed it, bro. Just crushed it. So very excited about that. And I'm excited because this book, it's a nice entry point into the series too. Like I said here, we have out right now already an omnibus that collects the first 4 volumes. This is with a cover by James O'Barr, who created The Crow. This collects the first 4 books in the series, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we got volume 5 out, Rockstar Paranoia, and then this being volume 6. But what's nice with this is you can jump right into this series, and within 5 pages, you'll know what's going on. Or if you jump into Kickstarter and you say, you know what, I really want to support Dirk, I really want to check out this book, I maybe just looking for the cover, whatever the reason may be, and you say, but I want everything, we got to Give Me Everything pledge that you can get the omnibus of the first 4, volume 5 and volume 6, all at a bundled price. We're doing t-shirts, some really cool merch. Because it's books with vampires, we got Tales of Mystery sunglasses we're offering because I'm ridiculous. Just a lot of real cool stuff with this campaign, man. So I'm really excited about it.
What was the most difficult process in this whole series?
Man, that's a great question. I cut my teeth writing short stories, right? My debut in the world of comics was Nightmare World, which is all 8-page stories. It's actually, a lot of people tell you it's harder to write a good short story than to write a good long story. Well, for me, it's been an interesting thing now because, like I said, with volume 6 of Tales of Mystery, we have over 900 pages of content in this whole series, right? It's massive. And we have multiple characters involved. We have multiple storylines. I know where this series is going, and I know where this series ends. I'm not going to say when, so don't ask. I know you'll try to get it out of me, but I'm not going to say what the last volume is going to be. But I do know where it ends. But being 900 pages in, again, we got all these different characters. We got Mystery, we've got Charity, we've got Brad Thompson, we've got Thelma Lushkin, you've got Lucifer, you got all these characters in play. And to give them all the time they need, but also drive the story forward, but also making sure that if people just want to jump in with volume 6, that they'll know what's going on, but also still honor my longtime readers, or readers, if you will, and making sure that they're still getting one big continuous story has been it's been an interesting challenge. But I will say, Tales of Mystery Volume 6, this might be my favorite series, or my favorite volume of the series I've done to date. And I think part of that is challenge. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying, why do you think that is?
I think part of it's because of the challenge of getting this deep in a story. I mean, 900 pages is a lot, right? That's a lot of story. That's a lot of comic book pages. But past that, Tales of Mystery actually derives from Nightmare World. So when you put all that stuff together, when we're that deep into the continuity of everything, there's a lot of throwbacks to all the way back to Nightmare World in Tales of Mystery Volume 6. And there's characters, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's characters from Volume 1 of Tales of Mystery who come back into a very prominent role in this volume, right? So it's been really fun to get to do that, to bring back these characters that maybe some readers haven't seen in years. Like, oh my God, there's so-and-so, right? Or here's this character, he's back, holy mackerel. It's a fun challenge, right? And to be 6 volumes deep into a series where we see the character grow so much and struggle so much. And a lot of people tell me, they're like me, they said, Mr. E's your favorite character I write, Dirk. They said, he's a damaged character. He's a dynamic character. He's a very complex character. And to continue to see his growth and to see him struggle and see him succeed sometimes, but fail sometimes, and sometimes make decisions that we cheer and sometimes make decisions that make us want to, scream at him. It's a cool opportunity.
Now, what's the difference between writing for an ongoing series versus, say, like self-contained graphic novel?
Oh, wow. That's another great question. You're dropping bombs today, brother. I always write with the end in mind, right? I always write with the end in mind. Anytime I go to write a story, whether it be an 8-page story or a multi-volume series, I know how it's going to end. That's the most important thing for me. How does it end? And how do we then get to that ending as quickly as possible and as dynamic as a fashion as possible that honors the story itself? One of the things that happened in Tales of Mystery is I've had characters kind of run away with the story. And specifically, I've had characters do things that have accelerated the story. I originally thought the story was going to end here. Well, now, because of some of the stuff the characters have done, it's going to end here. They stepped on the gas. They've accelerated things. I know that makes me sound like a crazy person. But truly, characters in the book have accelerated things and run away with it. And what I mean by that is like, well, of course this character would do this. What else would he do in this situation? And for me as a writer, I'm like, yeah, but that means I'm not going to get to do this thing. Well, no offense, shit happens, man. Life happens. That's what this character would do, and that's what they're going to do. And as a result, now instead of it being this long, it's going to be this long. That's much different than in a short story. In a short story, the characters only have so much wiggle room. Right. Now, with Tales of Mystery Volume 6 being 6 volumes in, we have these characters that are very developed and very fleshed out, and they have very full personalities. And because they have such full personalities, they sometimes do things I don't want them to do. I know it makes me sound like a crazy person, but it's
true. I don't think so. But
I had a character specifically that did something that I did not want them to do, and as such, they've now stepped on the gas, and they've accelerated plot lines that I thought I was going to get to later. So when I am looking at volume 7 of Tales of Mystery, there will be another volume after this one. One of the things we did is that people that pledged on this campaign can get drawn into volume 7. So I'm not spoiling anything. There'll at least be a 7. It's like, well, I didn't plan on getting to some of that stuff in volume 7 until later. The characters, one of the characters particularly had a different idea. So that's, I think, the big difference is doing a long form series like this, the characters can surprise you a lot more. Do an 8-page story, they're going to get out. Or I'm going to get out. Now, sometimes, to some extent, the inmates are running the asylum.
Right, and there's no end.
Right. Well, I know the end, and they may not know the end, but I know the end. I know where their actions are taking them, but they're just not working on my timeline anymore. They're working on their own timeline, and it's exciting to watch.
Do you have any projects that don't have an end? Like there's always a door left open?
Just the other day, someone asked me with my first series, Nightmare World. This was another Source Point Press book. Again, this was kind of like the prequel to Tales of Mystery. this was 52 different 8-page stories. And someone said, hey, man, are you going to do more Nightmare World? And I was like, hell no. It's 52 stories and out. And then people say, well, what about this? What about, Tales of Mystery? And I said, no, that has an ending. What about Hope? That has an ending. I don't like to start a story unless I know how it's going to end. Because to me, ultimately, what up, dude?
What's up?
To me, ultimately, the value of the story is in the fact that it'll end one day. Right. I want there to eventually be, that is Tales of Mystery. That is Nightmare World. That is Hope. That is Haunted Highlands. Whatever it may be. If I have my way, everything has an end point. Then you can evaluate it as a whole. I don't ever want there to be a situation where someone says, "Oh man, it was good, but then it got bad." Right? It jumped the shark. Or I don't ever want to be a situation where, something happened and Dirk's hands fell off and he didn't get to finish the last volume. I really want to make sure that things have an end. And ultimately, I think a story is judged by its ending just as much as its beginning. That was a long way of saying no. Everything I write is going to have an end point. Sorry.
No, you're good. Hello.
Hello.
How do you say that?
Oh, neither is my wife.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Nezukushu Mawafi?
No, Nezukushu is my wafu. My wafu.
My
It's
waffle.
an anime term. Yeah. Thank you, senpai. There we go. I got you covered.
All right. Yeah, I would have never guessed how to pronounce that.
That's an anime up in the house.
That's
like
one thing I never got into. I never got into anime.
Well, one of my favorite, I haven't done a ton of anime. I've watched it a little bit. I watched like the first season of One Piece and a while back, and I'm getting to the point. I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to get back into that a little bit because it was fun. But one of my favorite comics of all time is a manga. Junji Ito is the guy's name. He writes legit, the scariest comics I've ever read. And they're manga, more the Japanese format. Junji
Like
Ito,
actual scary.
dude. Junji Ito is a master of horror comics. He's a master. And probably his most famous book is called Uzumaki, which is means spiral. And the whole book is about a town that becomes obsessed with spirals. And I am not kidding you when I say it is legitimately the scariest comic book or scariest graphic novel I've ever read in my life. I know it sounds crazy. Just a town that becomes obsessed with spirals. Adult, yeah, there you go. You know what's up.
I'll have to check that out.
Uzumaki dope. They did an Adult Swim 4-part miniseries on it that was animated to look just like the manga. Junji Ito's a master, and in my career as a writer, I have a book coming out probably next year called Frog Sweat, where I'm trying to chase my trying to chase that Uzumaki, that Junji Ito vibe a little bit of just doing something real crazy with body horror. But yeah, I haven't see a lot of people tell me about Demon City and Vampire Hunter D, and I need to take the plunge. I just don't watch a ton of TV, but I know there's some really good horror manga out there or horror anime out there, and I need to get into it more. I know I just need to take the time to bust out Crunchyroll and go. I watched a little bit of Berserk. I need to try to get back into that. I just don't watch a ton of TV, man. So it's tricky for me.
I don't either.
But there's good stuff out there and everything, I mean, I'm a metalhead, but there's a lot of rap I like, right? There's country I like. There's classical I like, There's good in every genre. You just got to sift through it and find it.
Absolutely. Now with your characters, which character in your work do you identify with most strongly and why?
I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna say it again, Mystery. You know, I've always said that Nightmare World is like my biography with monsters sprinkled in. Mystery is like my soul, man. Mystery is my favorite character I write, and he is the one I identify with the most. But in a way, Mystery is like the character I identify with when it rains. You know, when it's dark, when it's stormy, when things are rough. Mystery is a character who looks at the world in a very bleak and distrustful, pessimistic fashion. You know, the story of Tales of Mystery is Mystery hunts monsters. He's a demon hunter, right? And he lives in a world where it's not that people don't know that monsters don't exist. The monsters exist. People know monsters exist. The whole hell invaded Earth for 3 days in this series. That's the open, right? But everyone thinks the demons are gone. But Mystery knows they're not. And society as a whole does not want to believe that there's monsters and demons still left. And there's a lot of books out there. I mean, we were just talking to the chat a minute ago about different anime and stuff like that, like Demon City and Vampire Hunter D. There's a million stories out there about people who hunt monsters. But Tales of Mystery is different because everyone knows monsters are real, but they don't think Mystery's crazy for believing in demons. They think he's crazy for thinking there's still demons left. And that's not something I've ever seen done with the demon hunter genre before, right? And if you're a guy, and here's the other thing, if you're a guy that knows monsters are real, and it could be anybody, you could be a vampire, you could be a demon, you could be a number of horrible things, you could be a priestess of Cthulhu. How do you make friends with people? How do you tell people about your job when the job that you've given yourself is something that most people believe doesn't exist anymore? And that's what I wanted to explore. I love monster fiction. I love the ideas of monster hunters and things like that. But to me, the monster hunters are always real suave, real cool. Whether you're Hellboy or Hellblazer or the Goon or Dylan Dog or whatever it may be, Doctor Strange, they're cool characters. They're cool characters. But to me, if you lived a life where your whole life was dedicated to fighting monsters and demons and stuff like that, what would that really do to you? How do you make friends? How do you talk to people about your work? How do you trust anybody?
You can't.
Exactly. And that's the series. And I identify that with that a lot with Mystery. But again, on the dark days, I like to think I'm more of a positive person than I'm not. But on those dark days, on those rainy days, man, Mystery. Yeah, Dylan Dog, right? Perfect example. If you like Dylan Dog, you'll like Tales of Mystery. You need to check out this comic series. Dylan Dog was based on a graphic novel series as well. Right. So it's he's my guy.
Mhm.
He's my guy. He's the one I relate to the most. I love him the most. I pity him the most. But that's why I've written so much story with him too.
You think you favor him a little too much?
I don't do him any favors.
No.
No. You know, as a writer once said years ago, the key is kill your babies when you write. In fact, some people might argue I'm a little too hard on him, you know, but he also, Mystery is a character who is too distrustful for his own good. Even all the way back to volume 1, when he first meets Charity, this other sorcerer named this magician named Charity. She offers to help him, and he is so distrustful of everyone, he literally throws her number away and says, I want nothing to do with you. And he realizes too late he probably should have asked her for help. The fact that he does not trust people so much causes him a lot of anguish and causes him to make a lot of dumb decisions that people scream at when they read the book. They're like, "What are you doing?" It's like, we like him, but then he does something stupid, not because he's unintelligent, because he's distrustful. And we're like, it's okay to trust somebody, but he just can't bring himself to do it. He's such a loner. And it's like, you want to grab him and shake him, right? It's like, what are you doing, man? And then when he does trust, sometimes he trusts the wrong people. One of his best friends is a demon, and he knows he's a demon, right? It's a fascinating dichotomy, and I like the character a lot. And well, I see in the chat, you should make your story into a movie. There's been discussions about doing mystery optioned, but I'll tell you, the good thing about making it a graphic novel series is I can tell the story exactly as I want to tell it. I promise you, when or if, but probably when, maybe when, they make a Tales of Mystery movie, I'm not sure they're going to adapt it exactly the way it's written. This is the real version, right? When you support the books and stuff like that, you jump in and you read the comic series. This is the story it's meant to, the way that it's meant to be told. They make a movie, they do what they want with it, and then
Books are usually always better.
Yeah, because it's the mainline version of it. You know, movies are written by committee oftentimes. You got a director, you got a producer, you got the actor. Everyone's rubbing their stink on it. You know, so it gets a lot trickier. It gets a lot more diluted. But when you read the book, you're exactly right. This is the mainstream version of the story. Now they make it into a movie and they do dumb stuff with it, the book's still going to exist. If they do better stuff with it in the movie, awesome. They based that on my idea that I had to begin with.
I got a question for you, and it has to do with some of the characters that you deal with. I see this a lot, especially when it comes down to horror movies, and it's mainly because I'm a huge horror fan.
Yeah,
Is it more satisfying when you're writing something and you finally get to that one character that you've been waiting to see what happens to them? I mainly call it the list of assholes that are in every movie that ever.
Right.
You know, the one that they're waiting for to die. Do you have a top character that you've either created or read that you were like, man, I can't wait to see what fucking happens to this dude?
Back in one of my earliest Nightmare World stories I wrote in like 2003, 2004, there was a story I wrote called For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. And the story was about this Marilyn Manson goth type kid who wanted to sell his soul to the devil so he could be a rock star like Daisy Dahmer, I think is who it was, right? He wanted to be a heavy metal star, and he kills his best friend in the story, and he summons this demon. Ozzy Kupris was the demon's name. And the demon's like, well, look, man, we appreciate it, but the devil doesn't want a rock band, you know. I mean, he's not selling enough records. No thanks. And the kid's like, no, wait, please, I'll do anything to be a rock star. The demon's like, anything? Well, then the twist at the end of the story in Nightmare World is he ends up being in a boy band, right? I waited in my time almost 20 years. And then in Tales of Mystery Volume 5, we revisit the band. And he finally got his final comeuppance. Now, someone that's going to jump in and buy Nightmare World and then read Tales of Mystery, it's going to look like it all just happened in, you know, a couple hundred pages difference. But to me, to get to that moment, and there's the demon that sold the kid the soul, and then there's the boy band right there, right? I waited like almost 20 years to get to that moment as a writer. It was so much fun to get to revisit the band, the Glamour Boys, they were called.
The Glamour Boys.
The Glamour Boys, right. So getting to revisit the Glamour Boys all those years later, you're right on the money, bro. That was a huge moment for me. In volume 6, which is now on Kickstarter, there is a character that first appeared in Nightmare World that comes back again as well. And I'm not going to say who the character is or what happens, but I'm getting to write scenes in Tales of Mystery. Or I got to write scenes because the book's written and drawn in Tales of Mystery Volume 6 that I've been waiting for people to see again for, gosh, I started Tales of Mystery in 2006, so close to 20 years again at this point, right? That I've waited to get to these moments. And it blows my mind. It just makes me cackle when I get to write them. And then I see Austin McKinley illustrated. I'm like, oh my God, I've been waiting. Like, I didn't have gray hair when I started this part of the story, right? You know, or I think about like where I was then and getting to finally revisit that point. And it's wild because there are people that jumping into this Kickstarter right now, and they order the I'm New Here pledge. They get all 6 volumes of Mystery, just like that. And they can sit down and they can read 1 to 6 and see this whole story weave together, not knowing I started this series 20 years ago. And they're just getting to read it all once and get all caught up. So it's wild. Yeah. So again, long answer to a short question, and I apologize. Yeah, I've had those moments. Yeah, I had one in volume 5, and then I got more in volume 6 that just I hope it takes my longtime readers for a ride. Right. That's my goal.
They appreciate it as much as you do.
Exactly. Or they have as much fun with it as I do. Like, oh my God, that's that character again. Again, there's a character from Tales of Mystery Volume 1 who shows back up in this volume for the first time. And it's going to have a pretty heavy impact on people when that character shows back up. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, was there ever a character that you were kind of upset when you knew the end for that character was coming up and you were like, oh man, my readers are going to kind of be upset about this, but it helped prolong the final ending for everything?
To talk about that in detail would be to spoil things in Tales of Mystery Volume 6. But I will say yes. Yeah. Tales of Mystery Volume 6 is at times the funniest volume of the series to date. Oh, thank you. Right on, man. Thank you. But it's also most dreadful. Bad things happen to people in this book, man. It's a horror comic, and it's very dread-laden. I think we're living in a golden age of horror right now. You got movies like Bring Her Back. It was phenomenal. Weapons was so good. When Evil Lurks, Heredity. You know, I can go on and on, right? I'm a huge horror fan. And with Tales of Mystery Volume 6, I mean, I can say reasonably, we're about halfway into Act 2 of the series. When you look at long-term storytelling, that tends to be when things get dark, right? We're in the Empire Strikes Back phase right now, where Darth Vader chops off the hero's hand after he tells him he banged his mom. Right? You know, volume 6 gets heavy. And then I saw someone say you need to catch up on Mystery. Right now, I'll tell you, if you go to the Kickstarter at talesmystery.com, there's a pledge level called I'm New Here. You can get the whole series with free US shipping, right? Because I wanted to make it accessible. But yeah, we're the part of the series where there's stuff that happens to the characters. In fact, I'll tell you this: my editor, Drina Joe, not my editor, but the person who edits a lot of my books, she also edited Haunted Highons with Twisted and stuff like that. She quit the book for a minute. She was so mad at me. It's some of the stuff that happens in this volume. She did. She straight up was like, I'm not doing, no, fine. So I'm not, if you do this, I'm out. She circled back around, right? But she got that mad. So I think readers at times are going to get really invested in some of the stuff happening in this volume. Because that's my homie, man. You know, I mean, Drina Joe, she's edited my books for years now. And she was like, no, if you do this, I'm out. Do not. She's like, I forbid you. I'm like, you forbid me? Excuse me? Pardon me? I don't think so. I don't think so. You may be the boss, but
What project was that on?
This one, on Tales Mystery Volume 6.
Yeah.
The one that's on Kickstarter right now. She actually quit the book for a minute because she was so mad and something happened to one of the characters. So get ready. It's going to get savage. Because here's the thing. This volume is about Mystery has to protect this stranger who is being targeted by all the vampires because they believe the stranger might have like a divine origin or aspect to him, and that his blood will help them to get true immortality. And when you got a pack of vampires after you, things aren't going to end well, right? Things are not going to, people are going to die. This book is called Blood for Blood. There's going to be a lot of ugly stuff going on in this book, man, because there is very funny stuff in this book. Some of the vampires are real funny, but I'll tell you something, friends. The things a vampire finds funny are probably not things a human's going to find funny.
Well, some humans.
Some humans, right, exactly. I certainly would not want to be involved in something a vampire found humorous. I'll leave it at that. Especially when you read this volume and you'll see, man, it gets heavy. So yeah, there's stuff that happens to some of the characters in this book that, like I said, Drina Jo stormed off for a minute. She was so hot, and I just laughed. That we talked and we got it squared away. But yeah, this is a horror book through and through.
What brought on the idea of this series?
I think a good horror story answers the question, what would you do if? I'm not afraid of, let me rephrase that. I have lived my life without ever encountering a werewolf, to my knowledge. So I am not inherently afraid of werewolves. What I'm afraid of is what would happen if I was in the mall and a bunch of werewolves came storming down the center aisle. What would I do if? What would I do if a pack of vampires was coming after if some stranger runs up to me and says, help me, the vampires are after me. I say, what? And all of a sudden I see a pack of vampires come flying down the street at me. That's what's scary. What would I do in that situation? Well, Tales of Mystery, and I kind of touched on this a minute ago. This is a situation where Mystery is a demon hunter, and unlike most stories where people don't think that monsters are real, everybody knows that monsters are real. Everybody knows it. But they think he's crazy for thinking that they're still around. Not to get political, but someone said at one point, oh, you wrote a book about COVID. And I said, well, I wrote this book in 2006 is when I started. So it wasn't supposed to come true like that. Right. But that idea that some people think something is real and some don't, or some people think it's real and some people think it's gone and maybe it's not. That's what fascinates me about this series, right? I get to take a familiar trope of a monster hunter, a demon hunter, and spin it on its head. Most of the time, they don't think monsters are real. Everyone on Earth knows they're real. Everyone in this book had someone affected by the 3 days of darkness. But they'll also say, if you think monsters are still around, maybe you're having a hard time adjusting. Maybe we need to just lock you away in a hospital so you can get better. Get better.
Here, take these pills.
My man. Maybe you have PRADS, post-rapture adjustment disorder syndrome. Take these pills. Go in that nice room. Don't come out. And what do you do when you're trying to save everybody? And they're trying to tell you that you're crazy for trying to save them. And then what do you do when all of a sudden you have to go grab this guy and say, you need to come with me right now. The vampires are coming. And he says, what? And the vampires show up. And you're just a dude who knows a little magic with another guy and a pack of vampires in front of you. Well, look at that cover. Here we go. Tales of Mystery, Volume 6, Blood for Blood.
All right, so that's actually really dope.
Thank you. And again, people can jump right into Volume 6 if they want and start there. Or I got like what's called the I'm New Here pledge, where they can get all 6 volumes. I get a bundled price. What you see is what you pay for you shipping. I got a pledge level where you can just get Volume 5 and 6. So you kind of start with Act 2. I've got a shirt you can get with this campaign. It's a Kickstarter exclusive that says "Fuck Vampires" on it. You know, there's all kinds of cool stuff. But I appreciate what you said, man, because ultimately it's about the story. It's about the story, and people can jump in here if they like it. See me at a show. You can get the books in some other time later. You know, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I've been at Astronomicon every year, so there's a good chance you'll see me there again. I don't want to spoil it, but just saying, my track record is good, right? Or you can get the books down the road at comic shops or Amazon and things like that. But I appreciate that you're feeling what I'm doing with the story as a horror fan, because I'm a horror fan. This is my horror series. This is my favorite series I write.
I actually have one more question for you because,
Right on.
like I said, I'm a huge horror fan. Everybody knows from like the old school horror movies, there was always the rules on how you survived and who ended up dying.
Right.
You know, if you had sex, premarital sex, you died. If you,
You
did
died,
drugs,
right.
you died. Are there rules to a horror graphic novel like what you write to survive, or how the victims end up lining up?
That's a great question. One of the things that I realized early on was I don't want characters to have what I call plot armor, or what other people have called plot armor. I didn't come up with that term. Plot armor is this character has to survive because it's good for the plot. That's not the way this game is played. If I write the story and it gets to a point where there's no realistic way that they should be able to survive, guess what? You're probably not going to survive. You know, there is no plot armor in this series. So if you're trapped in a room with 3 vampires and they got you surrounded and all you have is a marker, you're probably not going to make it much longer if they want to take you out. Right. So that's my rule, is everything has to be logical. No plot armor. You don't get saved just because, it's kind of like what Lee was saying earlier. You don't get saved just because I like you. You don't get saved just because the readers like you. You better just hope those characters don't outsmart me and get someone killed. Right. So lost your copy of Tales Mystery Volume 1. You can jump in and get that omnibus on the Kickstarter page at talesmystery.com, and you'll get it in full color for the first time. The original, there's one quick thing I'll say real fast here because I know we got to go in a minute. The original Tales of Mystery Volume 1 was in black and white. When I collected the first 4 volumes in the omnibus, the rest of the series is in color. So what I did was we went back and we colored Volume 1 as well. So now Volume 1 is in color for the first time in the omnibus. So if you're new to the series, you can now get, like I said, Volumes 1 through 5, as well as Volume 6, all the bundled package. And if maybe you just read Volume 1, like a friend Wafu here, and liked it, I would say get the omnibus, because now you get it in color. You get the whole thing and get to carry forward. Or if you really just want a Volume 1, get a hold of me through Instagram at Dirk Manning, or at Facebook at Dirk Manning, and maybe we can make some magic happen for you, my friend. Since you hung on this interview, I might be able to get you another copy.
Hell yeah. You have any last words? I know we got to get out of here, so.
Yeah, I got to bounce them in. I want to say thank you guys for having me on, man. You know, I know we got a second interview coming up down the road about Source Point Press. I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys. I also want to say continued congratulations on a year in the game. Super dope, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. And as for me, again, I just hope that if people
for sure
like what they've heard, oh, thank you. I just hope if people like what they heard about Tales of Mystery that you'll jump in the Kickstarter and give it a shot. We're in the stretch goal party right now. We're funded. The more people that jump in and back the book, the more free stuff everybody gets. I know times can be tight for people, things like that. My goal, whenever I write a book, is to make a graphic novel that you're going to read and reread. So if you've liked my other work, if you've liked stuff like Haunted Highons, or you've liked some of the other stuff I've done, or you like this conversation, I hope you'll jump in and give this one a shot. You can jump in with volume 6, and then if you like it, go forward and backwards from there. That aside, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook at Dirk Manning. Look for the picture of the guy with the top hat and the scarf. And again, man, congratulations on a year in the game. You're just killing it. You're crushing it. Thank both of you for having me on. And people can learn more about me at dirkmanning.com as well. And sign up for my newsletter. I send out a newsletter once a month. You can connect that way too. But thank you, guys. Thank you for the time. And huge congratulations on everything you got going on, bro. Appreciate you. Both of you.
Appreciate you. I'll stay in touch.
Please do. And again, just encourage everyone to check out the campaign, talesofmystery.com. And thanks for having me, gentlemen.